This is Duke University.
Looking at these, and I was thinking about this, which someone gave me, it's an ad someone gave me in 2001, and they were like, you should do something with this. And I was just like, what am I going to do with this? Because it said basically everything that my work was trying to say. And there's this moment when I realized that I couldn't figure out what to do with it. And after like 4 years of just thinking about it, the only thing I could think to do was this. And I realized that the last thing you'd think this was an ad for was Japanese cars, right? And started to think about kind of looking at other images, and realizing that just by removing the text, you can, you think about it, could really be an ad for virtually anything. So I started thinking about, well, especially when you start marketing to a demographic, there's nothing but generalizations that kind of that depends on that. And so I started thinking about when were African Americans beginning to be marketed to. And so I started the project, which was called Unbranded: Reflections in Black by Corporate America from 1968 to 2008. And in it, I took 2 ads for every year from 1968 to 2008 and removed all the branding information to look at what was really being sold. And so this is an ad from 1969. What do you guys think this is an ad for? Yes. Correct. But it says Slack Power, the anti-establishment post-grad slacks by his. And so it shows that as early as 1969, Madison Avenue had figured out a way to sell basically golf pants to so-called revolutionary. And then this was an ad.
Whoa.
What do you guys think this is an ad for?
Third legs.
Featuring O.J. Simpson, and it's an ad for the boots, but there is the third leg, and you can go into all the reasons why that may be relevant at the time. But then there's this one with Joe Frazier, which was, to me, really fascinating, heavyweight boxing champion. Because what do you all think this is an ad for?
Mrs. Motherman.
Well, it's actually an ad for Blue Bonnet. And for the margarine, but I can't help but to think about Aunt Jemima when you see it, this clear reference to the slave mammy caricature, and for someone to take the heavyweight champion and to make that kind of reference is pretty curious. And so I was really fascinated with it. And what I'm fascinated with about using ads is that rather than them being something that come from me, there's something that all of us have some influence in because they say so much about society's hopes and dreams or mentality at a specific moment. So this is one from 2005 that I found in Ebony magazine that's relevant to it. But again, what do you all think this is an ad for? And I say it was in Ebony because it, watermelon. Culturally relevant. Anybody? Nobody's gonna take
dishware.
Smart group, but it's actually an ad for kitty litter. And there's only one logic that I could think of to make sense of it. And why was it in Ebony magazine? Somebody was like, well, how do we get black people to, buy our kitty litter? Well, black people like watermelon, and what would make watermelon more civilized if all the seeds were in one place and you just scoop them away, just like our kitty litter. Like that's the only real logic that there is, and it's just fascinating because you wonder, because this is 2005, so they could have easily been a black person in the boardroom, and who's like, it was their idea, like I'm black, I like watermelon, and then all the white people were like, well then clearly not racist. There's this way in which things become complicated, that now that you have black companies also making these ads that before I named it Reflections in Black by Corporate America because I was interested in how in the 1960s and 70s, most people making these decisions, and probably still today, were white men, and interesting about how white men's interpretation of blackness helped shape blackness in the public eye over the past 40 years. This is one from 1977, which I say is really a sign of the time, because it's an ad that couldn't have existed in 1967, where you have a white man looking longingly at a black man's dark meat, And there's, because it's a product of, after the blaxploitation movies and the Black Power movement, became this kind of new thing that black men started to have that white men were, as far as this bravado and the child, that white men could be less bashful about their kind of longing for in a certain way. Or this one from 1979, where I say that these people just happened to be black. This is when black people started to move into the middle class and mainstream. But you see where race is in a factor, you see gender roles fall into play. So the women watch as the men play, and you see the woman on the left is feeding this guy this burger, but if you look at his right hand, he's got his own burger down there. So basically, so the photographer, you can imagine, like, oh, you need something to do, feed him. And so I'm really fascinated with kind of the ways in which, as we progress, we also miss and lose a lot also. And I had 2 rules for the project. I told myself I couldn't use any images that I wish I took, or sell any images that I knew the name of the photographer wanted. And this was one from 2001 that I saw, and I was like, wow, this is really nice. It was for Black History Month, and it said, once upon a time in America, there were people who were proud and strong. And it's a Chevy ad, and of course you can't tell. But I was like, wow, I really can't say anything bad about it. And I was looking at this timeline about the black experience, and I noticed that something was missing. Does anybody know what's missing? Dwayne?
Slavery.
The slave. And because you can't really spell, the heartbeat of America with a picture of this beat up bloody slave in the middle of it. So, and the corporate understanding of it, that we came here just like everybody else, It was hard, but we fought and, and made a way for ourselves, and, finally graduated to the next level. And so I'm really fascinated with these kind of cultural erasures.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.